This week on Influence, why it's always so important to get a second opinion and a third opinion and probably a fourth opinion and maybe fifth or sixth, seventh, 10 opinions. Just get 10 opinions. Greetings, web surfers, internet travelers. Welcome back to Influence with me, Matt Silverman, a person who's been covering the internet and technology for at least 4,000 years, since the dawn of farming and civilization. I'm here to bring you this program because we love all the wonderful people who make the internet worth interneting, the content creators, the musicians, the Instagrammers, the podcasters, the YouTubers, the essayists, the newsletterers, all those amazing people. And today's show is in that vein for sure, but a bit different because we use the internet for entertainment, information, education, distraction. But sometimes we need the internet for, let's call it support. Let's call it, we need to seek another understanding of what is going on in our own lives. And we're going to talk about it today because sometimes that can be super positive and empowering. And as we've covered on this show, it can also be, a quagmire of misleading information or uncertainty, or who am I talking to and what are the sources of this information? And that is never more important than medical information. I think we're going to get deep in the weeds on that today, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you should go to the internet to find medical information, but when done correctly and done with the right mindset and with the right trust and understanding, people with relevant experiences to your own are going to be very useful to you and might even save your life. I am thrilled to welcome my guest today, who is a star on social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, perhaps you've heard of them, where she not only shares really deeply personal stories about her diagnosis and recovery from colon cancer, but also is a fierce advocate for patient rights and better healthcare, especially for women. I'm very excited to share her important story with you today. Please welcome Amanda Lee to Influence. Hello.
Hi. Thank you.
Very nice to meet you. The studio
really
audience
excited.
is thrilled.
Thanks.
How
I'm
are
really
you?
excited. I'm pretty good. All in all, I'm doing really good.
Good. I'm thrilled to have you on the show. A listener of mine was like, "Hey, you should check her out and see what this is all about." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, what's she doing?" And then unpacked your story a bit and was like, "Oh, wow," because there is a lot of, I don't know, health influencers and medical influencers in this wide world, but your story is very personal and very specific. So, why don't we kick it off? Introduce us to your life and your story. Maybe the before times. What was your life like before this moment that changed everything for you?
Yeah, so basically I was a wedding photographer at the peak of my career. I was 2020 was going to be my first year fully booked as a wedding photographer. I know, the humor is there. So I was hit really hard. Obviously, I returned all of my deposits for 2020 when 2020 hit.
Meaning you were fully booked, the
Yes.
calendar was set, and you were set for a year's worth of work.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And I
didn't know this. I didn't know that. I mean, I did as much research as I could about your background, and I didn't really realize this. That's wild.
Yeah, it was about 4 weddings I had to return the deposit for. So, that's not as bad as it could have been. I tried to do as much as I could, so I wasn't literally bankrupting myself. But so at the beginning of 2020, I basically said goodbye to my full-time photography job.
Yep.
I was a full-time, wedding and videographer. So that's what I thought I was going to do. Social media was not on my radar. That was
Hmm.
not, obviously I've been performing since I was a kid. I love musical theater, but that content was not on my radar.
Was social part of your wedding, your photography promotion business? Was that a piece of it?
So I actually ran a social media account for an ice cream parlor. Um, and so that's how they paid for me to get any training I got. And I became like their marketing team. And,
Cool.
it was very minimal work. And then
Hmm.
obviously the pandemic hit. That was no more my wedding
Weddings and
photography.
ice cream are
Yeah.
not on the table anymore.
Our
Wow.
Dunskies, yeah. So, I ended up getting really sick towards the end of 2021
Hmm.
and being like, hey, something's like, seriously not wrong. And obviously it's Thanksgiving. So I'm really sad that I'm not consuming any food. And people are really starting to notice. And I had just gone through a big breakup. So
Mm.
I didn't consider the weight loss to be an issue. But when I say I went from like 240 to 180. I lost a lot
Which
of weight.
is crazy. And also, just to clarify for listeners, like you were unable to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Is that and can you explain? Was it like an appetite thing? Was it a mental thing? Like what was preventing you?
it it my shit would not come out of my ass. That was
Okay.
preventing me,
Yeah.
like to be very blunt, like I would be in the bathroom being like, okay, if I could get this out, then I could have a meal.
Right.
It was pretty like, that's pretty much how I felt. Like if you go camping and you're not pooping, picture that's the loss of appetite.
Awful. Yeah.
Yeah, but like it builds up over time. So like it wasn't getting any better,
Right.
And so I've always had, stomach issues, which is, part of the problem, I would say, is I've had
Mm.
these stomach issues my whole life. And sadly, no one's really checked up on them.
Yeah.
So here I am, 27, calling my doctor during the pandemic, be like, I don't know what's wrong, but like get me in somewhere. And I didn't even know what a colonoscopy was at the time. Didn't even know
Hmm.
what a gastroenterologist was. I'm 27. Like you don't
No.
even
Right.
know what those things are at the time.
And so you're contacting your primary care, being like, "What the fuck is
Yeah.
happening?" Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I literally am like, as blunt as I am to you,
Hmm.
like I'm pulling shit out of my ass in order to survive right now. Like I need you to help me. And so he's like, I hear you, Miss Lee. Like I hear you. He ends up like finagling me into the emergency room
Okay.
and goes like, go right now. I think you have a blockage. And so I go, as my like one of my first ER visits, and
Mm.
they basically were like, we're not going to do an X-ray on you because we don't do, even though my doctor had asked me to ask for one. They said, we don't do unnecessary X-rays on women's reproductive rights. And that's what they said to me.
What does that have to do with,
Thank you.
poop and your intestines and whatever?
Yeah, so they sent me home with a possible blockage, which is
Okay.
what my doctor had sent me to go check. And they neglected to give me that X-ray and sent me home with Senna, which is just a laxative.
Okay.
So that was doctor number one. And I'm like, okay, got it. Like, you know what I mean? Then I went to another urgent care and I was like, listen, doc, like, I'm pulling shit out of my ass. Like, I need you to help me. And I'm crying and I'm shaking. And like,
Mm.
he basically looks at me and is like, I can't help you. We don't have any like screening technology here. This is just
Hmm.
an urgent
Yeah,
care.
just an
Like,
urgent care. Yeah.
and I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, but like, you're not helping me. So I left and I'm calling my doctor on a daily basis. And he's
Hmm.
like, okay, Miss Lee, like we're figuring this out together.
Okay.
And he ends up helping me get into a doctor like ASAP in Pasadena.
This is some sort of gastroenterologist,
Yeah.
someone? Yeah. Okay.
And this was like the first appointment I could get in person. I called, me and my doctor and the nurse at the office were calling multiple offices trying to book this appointment.
Yeah.
Like when I tell
You've got a team of people trying to
yeah,
get, and just to place it in time for listeners, this is in 2021, but whereabouts are we in
this is
time?
January.
Yeah, so this is like raging height of middle of the pandemic. I don't think anyone's vaccinated at this point, right?
No,
Okay.
no. And if you are, like, it's just medical staff at this point.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up going in to see this doctor, and he, walked me into the office, sat me down like I always do, and then, tell me what's going on. And I tell him, like, I'm struggling. I can't eat anything. I'm not, like, the poop's not coming out. I can't get it out. It's like, at this point, like, my butthole is like physically falling out. Like, I'm like, tell him I'm like having to push it in my butthole. Like, I tell you, like, at this point, I'm very shocked. Okay, so then
I just have to say for listeners, if you follow Amanda, she's as blunt and clear about this stuff on Instagram as she is on this podcast. So like I knew what I was signing up for, but I do want to just say this is where the fun is. Okay.
Okay, I feel like if anybody told me that I would, like, stop pushing in your butthole, see a doctor, I would have done it. So, like, just saying, like, if this resonates with any of you, go see a doctor.
Hey, look, I hope that a listener might hear this and be like, hey, maybe this is good. This is really important info to be aware of for your own health one day. So please continue.
And it's such TMI, so I'm telling this doctor all this.
It's not TMI.
It shouldn't be.
It's not too much information. It is the required information. Please proceed.
You are correct. So I'm telling this doctor everything, and he kind of interrupts, and he says, "What are you eating?" And I was like, okay, I'm just eating. I tell him, I'm like, I'm not eating anything. If I do eat, I consume apple puree, and that's it. Like the baby food.
Right.
And he said, maybe that's a blessing. And I said, I'm sorry, what did you say? And he said, yeah, I don't, maybe that's not such a bad thing that you're only eating apple puree. And I was like, I'm sorry. I was kind of shut down for a second. Yeah. And then I let him just talk and talk and talk. And I interrupted him again. And I was like, wait. Can you go back to you telling me not to eat? And I was just dead ass straight face. He was dead ass straight face. And he said it again. Yeah, I mean, you could, maybe you could afford to lose some weight. And at this time, I was a size 14, already severely malnourished, already severely nutrition. Keep in mind, I haven't eaten in 3 months. And this man is telling me. So in my head, I had it in my head that I just had Crohn's and I just needed medication and I just needed to get it and get out. Yep. So I had him write the prescription, and I basically was like, just write me my prescription and I'm leaving.
Okay.
So I pick it up off the table and I bust out of there, and I sit in my car and I make a TikTok of me that goes absolutely insane because it's me crying saying, hey, this doctor just said this to me. And this is what happened in that video. Obviously, everybody can go watch. It's,
This is, okay, so this is literally right after the appointment in your car.
And
you are distraught and you are just, okay. So we don't have to describe it for listeners and video listeners and audio listeners. I'm going to play this TikTok for you right now.
So I just got out of the GI doctor and I've been struggling with like abdominal cramping for a month now, and no doctor will listen to me. So I finally got this new GI doctor that I had to fight for, and I told him that I haven't been eating because it causes pain, and I'm in pain when I eat. And he looked at me and had the audacity to say, maybe that's not such a bad thing. I'm so upset. I'm so upset.
After I done film that TikTok, I didn't even I post it, but I don't have service. Okay. So that's very important to the story. Okay.
Okay.
I post it and I don't have service. And then I hang up my phone and I call my best friend at the time. And I'm like, what the heck do I do? And she said, march your ass back in there and ask for the office nurse, the office manager. And I said, okay, the office manager. I marched my ass back in there and I said, where's the office manager? I tell her everything. She basically says, yes, he said this, that he told you this to me. And
Okay.
she says, I'm done talking to you. You can go talk to him. Like,
Yep.
I'm out of this. Like, fuck this.
Right.
So her reason why she's so important is because she told Blue Shield exactly what he said.
Okay.
And I have it on paper
Okay.
that
Okay.
he actually said that. And she is a
Yes.
witness to that.
Yeah. That he actually said, "Hey, this is a good thing that you
Yes.
cannot eat food because you could
Yes.
lose some weight." Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, so she's wonderful. She goes and gets him, and I yell at him in the middle of his, like the waiting area, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, stop yelling at me here. Can you go into the office?" And I basically was like, "You don't know if I have an eating disorder. You don't know what my history is with eating. You
Right.
don't know, like, how dare you say, like, praise the fact that I'm not eating? Like, this is this." And at the time, I didn't think of the severity of it. Keep in mind, I just thought this was Crohn's, and I was just standing
Mhm.
up for myself.
I can't believe you. Well, I can believe it, but like that you had the wherewithal to go back in. I can't think. I could never do that. I can't think of a scenario where people I love would go back. And you said you called a friend, so I think you have a good friend there who pushed you
Yeah.
forward. That's what. How did you find this courage?
Um, my mother.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
raised by a single mother,
Mm,
and I would like to say that I think that cancer has obviously really changed me, but this moment was very pivotal
yeah.
into me grabbing myself by the cojones, and you know what I mean? So I walked back in there completely, like, letting him gaslight me, being
Hmm.
like, and he said, "Well, I'm sorry that you're so sensitive. You should find another doctor that's more accepting of you being so sensitive." Because,
Wow.
yeah. And then he was like, basically, like, that was the end of it. So I walked out, and then I sat in my car again and made a second
I
TikTok.
haven't eaten in 3 months,
Yeah.
but I'm so sensitive. Sorry, I'm
And I
just
asked
can't
him,
even
I was like,
process
"So are
this.
you going to run any tests?" And he said no. And
Yeah,
at that point, I was like, "We're done. We're done.
yeah.
Like, there's no point in me being here anymore. You're wasting
Mhm.
my time. I can move on to a next doctor." And so I sat back in my car again, and I made a second TikTok. Um, this one was me saying about what he said, and that I went back in. And the comments on these videos, this video also didn't upload, because I
Hmm.
left and I went about my entire day, cried
Hmm.
for the rest of the day, was like alone, just like wandering around CVS, like trying to get this medication, went
Hmm.
home, still not uploading. It uploads
Hmm.
at night. So I wake up to my phone blown the fuck up.
And we need to hear about that in a moment. But just for context, like, what's your relationship with TikTok or social media? You are not yet an influencer. Maybe you have friends or you follow a few accounts. What's your story? What's the status there at that
I
moment?
had maybe 1,000 followers of my
Okay.
friends on
Of friends.
on
Okay.
TikTok and Instagram,
Yep.
but I was very vocal during BLM. So
I see. Okay.
my friends and my followers are used to me being very vocal,
Okay.
because I'm just, like I said, I was raised by a single mom. That is something I do have in me, but so I am very vocal, but my followers are not. My followers before were all friends. I knew every single one of them.
But this is this is important to me because it's like you didn't just like create a TikTok account that week and then
No.
like vent on it. It was like you have already spent some time
Yep.
talking about social issues and activism in a social media space with an audience, which you're saying is to your friends, but like people who care about you and are connected to you. So this is
Yes.
helpful.
And I was very gentle, but I said, was probably very sugar coated. Very
Previously or in these TikToks,
previously,
and
previous
then you let it
Amanda.
out. You let it
Yeah.
out here. Okay.
Yeah. Previous Amanda was very like cookie cutter, sugar coated, and now I think this situation really, um, let me know how to double down on things, because
Right.
people will have your back.
Hmm.
Like I said, I woke up to, like, I had 1,000 followers on TikTok, and then I woke up to 20,000. And then I woke up,
Wow.
it wasn't, don't even think it was 20,000. I think it was
Right, right.
14,000 at first,
Sure.
but it just,
Exponential growth over.
yeah. And
Okay.
it was all women telling me messages after messages. I was also almost, killed by my doctor by
Wow.
fat phobic remarks, and fat phobia is real in the medical field. And it was just like message after message after message of these women telling me their story after story after story. And when I say it, like I sat and I read every single message and I responded to, took me, I think I still, you know, I still get messages, but like I try to sit and I listen to every single story because they are, a reflection of my story and they have
Mhm.
no other place to tell it.
Yes. And I also want to just parse the difference or the nuance between like going to the internet to seek out medical information, which is a minefield, versus telling your story and then you're getting like an overwhelming response of like thousands of other women also have the same story. So there must be something going on here that we are unpacking and uncovering together.
100%, and I think that as a fat woman, like as a child, I've always, I've been chunky since puberty. So, if you saw my mom, you'd like, oh yeah, those curves are definitely genetic. So it's just like I'm 5'1" and I eat food and it just is what it is. Um, I just, it comes down to, I remember year after year going to my doctor telling them about this medical issue, my stomach
Mm.
and my colon,
Mhm.
and them saying, I won't send you to a GI because blank. Here's omeprazole. Here's blank. And the issue is I wasn't asking more.
Yes.
And I didn't know that and keep in mind, I'm not a doctor and there's basic knowledge about colon cancer, but it is one of the cancers that is preventable with a colonoscopy.
Yeah.
So if they would have listened to me sooner, if I would have spoken up sooner, I would have prevented my own cancer.
Yes. And we live in a culture where, well, the doctor said it, so that is what we do. And we don't
Yeah.
seem to live, not enough of us are like, well, that's a human being with bias and point of view and whatever. So, like, we can get other opinions about these things. And no one should have should live with a chronic issue and just be like, well, I guess that's that, and not
Well,
figure it out.
they told me it was my weight. They told me it was my fault this
Wow.
whole time.
Yeah,
Even when
yeah.
I was young, they were like, well, maybe you should diet. And then I lost all this weight in an unhealthy way because of
Okay.
cancer. It was the only way I lost this weight. Like, keep in mind, like, I remember being in the hospital the week of not eating, like the 2 weeks of whatever not eating. And I was NPO, I think that's what it's called, where you're just liquids.
Okay.
And they literally, like, I think I lost like 2 pounds at 2 weeks, like it's
Right.
weight is hard to measure. So
Right.
to have a doctor consistently look at me, since I was young and be like, well, your stomach issues are your own fault.
Mm-hmm.
And me being like, I feel like it's not, but okay, and then plot twist, I had colon cancer.
Yeah. Whoa, spoilers.
I'm so sorry.
Hey. Okay, wait. Just taking a pause here. Listeners, talk amongst yourselves. I just need to speak with Amanda privately. You should write, what if you write a diet book? That's like how to lose like 80 pounds in a year. And then the book is just like, get cancer. You'd be a millionaire.
I think sadly people would buy it.
Okay, all right. We'll work on this together.
Okay, we'll
80
workshop
80
it.
20 80 20 split. All right.
Let's do
I'll
it.
edit the book. Okay. And we're back with Amanda, and she's
Welcome.
about to tell us what happened next.
Yeah, so I posted the second video, and I woke up the next day to astronomical amount of comments and stories, and but a lot of the things that really stood out to me were these women on TikTok who would stitch my video and
Ooh.
yell at me to go to the doctor.
Whoa.
One of them,
That's so interesting.
yeah, one of them lost her husband to esophageal cancer that year. And she stitched my video, and she's still my friend to this day. And she stitched my video, and she was like, "Go to the doctor. What are you doing? You need to go to a GI right now.
Stop what you're doing." Oh,
I literally was like, and she saved my ass. Like her and the rest of the people on the platform, and I like have goosebumps talking about it, but like literally I remember sitting on the couch being like, okay, it's just Crohn's, but fucking fine, I'll go. Like that's how I ended up going. That's how I ended up going back.
We talk so much about the destructive power of algorithms and how they can be so toxic and insular and serve you all kinds of crazy shit. But there's some magic here that was like, one or two people probably found your thing and wrote like 40 paragraphs of text, and that triggered the algorithm to seek out all the other people who would be relevant to this. And like you said, it saved your fucking life.
Literally. Yeah,
TikTok
like it
saved your life.
It got to every doctor on TikTok. It got to GI doctors on TikTok being like, you need a colonoscopy, go.
Yeah.
It got to Dr. Mike on YouTube. It got to the Today Show. It got to, it got so far because it resonated with so many people, whether it was, I'm a female, I'm not being listened to, or I'm being treated because I'm overweight on it, not my medical issues being ignored because I'm overweight, or, X, Y, and Z. And I genuinely have nothing else to say except I am alive. And I will, that's the thing is so stage 3 colon cancer. I had stage 3 colon cancer and I had 3 lymph nodes. Do you know how lucky I am?
It's fucking crazy,
if I had 10 more lymph nodes, which is the difference between a couple months or weeks, we don't know, I would still be battling, or I would not be alive.
Wow.
That is how close I go. That is how I don't think people understand how close I freaking got to not being here.
We're facetiously thanking the algorithm, but we're actually thanking your friend and the women who stepped up and said, go get it. This is extraordinary. And I knew your story, but I'm getting emotional talking with you about it. So,
and I feel like I have a duty to stand up for these women and hear their voice and to continue to fight for them. And I will 100%. I now see myself as a veteran, and all of my friends are dying from the war. And I got to survive, and I went home with a shot leg, and
right.
And they don't get to live, but I get to live, and I get to help other people live because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. We've been thinking about it a lot lately, my wife and I, just about how extraordinary when people turn tragedy or grief into advocacy or activism. There's just something about that it's there's no better way to whatever it is, honor the person or fight back or survive. If you can spare one person from the hardship that you encountered, that is just such a it's all worth it in some way, and so we appreciate.
I already have 5 people that have had precancerous polyps removed that were under the age of 30. That I know personally, that I have advocated for them to get help. And, it's like, I wear it as a badge of honor, they get to have dozens of years with their family for the rest of their life, all because they listened to me and their doctor also listened to me. And that is just, that's the point.
It's incredibly powerful. Okay, so we're obviously going to talk about the advocacy and the work that you're doing now, but let's keep going. The TikToks go viral, and you get this sort of big rush of go get the colonoscopy, go get another opinion. So what happens next? What do you do? Where do you go?
So I And now keep in mind, I'm like really sick, and I spend day after day calling doctor after doctor that took my insurance locally.
Yeah.
And I asked, do you like your job? And if they hesitated answering, I was like, next doctor. Do you like your job?
Wow.
Next doctor. How do you like working for this doctor? Next doctor. And I got to.
That's fascinating. That's a pro tip right there. Holy shit.
Yeah, because if they love their doctor, they'd be like, I love him. Like, yeah. Come on in. You know? So that's what I did. And I called.
Just to clarify, you're calling the front desk, the office staff, and saying, do you like working there? And if they're like, oh my God, it's great, then that's wow. That is such a good tip. I'm so annoyed at like shitty doctor's offices where everyone's just toxic and overworked and angry, and I'm like, why am I here anyway? Okay,
and that will tell you
just
real
blew my
quick.
mind. Yeah, you blew my mind there. Keep going.
You know, and I got Dr. Tamina Hawk, and she answered, and it was far, like her office was far. And I called her, and I was like, I don't care if I have to go to Huntington Beach, mama. Like, this is it. So, do you like your office? And she answered, she was like, yes. Oh my gosh. I love Dr. Hawk. And I was like, done. Cool. Set me up an appointment. When's my soonest appointment? This is an emergency. This is really bad. And I walk in a week later to this appointment, and I'm greeted by a woman who's my size. And I'm immediately like, okay, I'm going to be okay. And I tell
This is a GI doctor?
No, this is just her nurse.
Oh, okay. But I'm saying is it a GI office or a primary care? Okay, got it.
Yes, and Dr. Hawk at the time was a new doctor, so she was like piggybacking on another doctor at the time, so she barely had any patients. And when I say I got lucky, okay? So I troll my little butt in there, and I'm like, hey, I'm like shaking like a chihuahua, like I'm scared. They set me down. She comes in, and I'm like, blah, 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 this is what happened. And she's like, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you saying? Like, you're telling me a doctor ignored you. You're telling me that she immediately, but when I left, she was like, your colonoscopy is in days. You're going home with this medication.
Yeah.
And she didn't even do my colonoscopy because she couldn't even get me in. So she got me in another doctor to colonoscopy quicker. She was like,
okay,
who can colonoscopy this girl? Got me in.
Like sooner. So like within days of this appointment. Okay.
So I roll into that colonoscopy, and that doctor, I'm awake during the colonoscopy, which is unusual, but I am awake, and I'm looking at the screen.
Was there a reason for that?
I think it's like a medical thing that's abnormal.
What did they need to like communicate with you to figure something out?
No. It's like I'm pretty sure it's like a hypermobile EDS thing. Like, like the medication doesn't like process in my body like it processes anybody else.
I see.
So I'm like wide awake during all my colonoscopies. That's not normal. Okay.
So you're watching on the Jumbotron.
I'm watching on the Jumbotron, and I look over and I see a big black thing. And I say, what is that? And he says, that's a tumor, Miss Lee.
Oh my God.
And I say, well, we found it. Of course, there it is. And he walked out and told my mom right away, she's cancer. This is cancer. This is bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you. This is like, we need to be really quick about this. And my mom didn't want to tell me that, but she took me home. I ended up going into shock, and my colon was shutting. So I went home that day and needed to be shipped right back to the hospital. And on the way to the hospital, the doctor's like, we're ripping out your colon. This is it. Like, say goodbye to your colon. Okay. So I'm on the way to the hospital. I'm like, okay, goodbye to my colon, and my white blood cell count was just a little bit too high for that surgery. So I got to keep my colon.
Okay.
But it was a wild ride. I ended up having like scheduling major surgery, and being on liquids like 2 weeks before the surgery, because because I couldn't eat anything that would obstruct the tumor.
But what did they actually do? Did they remove part of the colon or the whole? Okay.
They ended up removing, and this is where my age comes into play and like healing and things like that. And where the tumor was located, I was able to remove the part of my colon, which was about a foot. And I have a lot of my colon still, no ostomy bag, no ileostomy, which is like a bag, either a temporary bag or a permanent bag. I never had any of that. So when I say I got so incredibly lucky, you know, and with colon cancer, they really do try to keep as much as your colon. That way, you know, it's notorious for coming back. You know, likes to make encores. So,
sure.
you know, so they just like to keep a lookout for it. And when I say,
but I don't really understand what would happen if they removed your colon. Like, what the fuck do you do? Did they put a synthetic tube in there or something? Like, what the heck?
They literally would reroute your small intestine from your stomach out to your stomach here.
That's what you mean with the colostomy.
Yeah, and
Jesus
they make a
Christ.
rectum, and then they put a cute little bag on it.
Cool.
And like when I tell you, like that bag is the difference between life and death for these people. Like when I say, like I was coming in expecting to leave with one, you know, like he was like, literally, you're dying right now. We're giving you a bag.
Oh my God.
You know, like that's how it is for every single patient with colon cancer. You know, and that's the hard understanding is when you do get this disease, you have to kind of part with your colon. You know, it's like, okay, you know, I might not have that, but it's fine. I don't need it. I don't need it. There's plenty of other organs that I would rather keep. You know, it's fine. We're good.
But so they're saying, so basically, if I'm understanding, they're saying because you're young, we can chunk out the part that has the tumor, tie it all back together, no bag, and then we're going to just watch you like a hawk probably for the rest of your life.
They literally they stapled my colon together and then said, go poop, walk to the bathroom and poop. Literally straight out of surgery. They're like, okay, go walk. Go walk to the bathroom and poop. And you're like, you want me to what? Out of the what? That you just what? It's wild.
That's wild.
And your body does it. It's like insane. Like, it's insane. Your body takes so much crap. It's so insane.
Like we're so fragile and subject to just anything could kill us. And the medicine and the apparatus around medicine and doctors is so fucked up. And also, modern medicine is a fucking miracle.
Yes. Like, thanks, Dolly Parton. Literally. We just, you know, and it really is. It's a testament to, like, you know, all of the women that, one, yelled at me enough to actually, like, go to another doctor. Because like I said, I was like, I'm just fat. I'm just going to die on my fat little hill over here, you know. Keep in mind, I was a size 14. And, you know, I was 180 pounds at that time. And I'm 5'1" and I'm curvy, you know, like I don't know. I just worry about all the poor women who go into the doctor's offices that are not a size 14, that they're a size 20, 24, or, you know what I mean? Or like me, I could be like I've obviously gained my weight back. So it's like, I'm walking into that office now a size 18, you know, like I'm, you know, putting my big girl pants on too again.
Right. But the solution, there's no full solution, but it's like the answer is the advocacy and education and connecting with as many women as you possibly can through these channels. So you are stapled up and you're back in business.
Open for shop.
Oh, I meant to ask you this too, as you're sort of you're sharing the journey here. Like, what kind of support system are you working with? It's your mom.
I got my mom. an amazing
Friends, partners, sister. Okay.
At this time I had lost a partner of 7.5 years due
Wow.
to, politics. So, it was hard, but I had a really great support system,
Good.
like my sister, my family. I'm very lucky,
Good.
very, very lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But so they stitched me up. I was back in business. And honestly, you would be shocked at how short that hospital stay is.
The fact that they're like, all right, wake up and go run around and go to the bathroom. Like, that's wild.
They literally called my mom because I didn't start walking the first day. And they're like, she's not walking. You need to convince her to start walking.
Whoa.
I was like, I can't get up without passing out. Tell me how I'm going to start walking. It was wild. But yeah. So I ended up going through chemo after I healed from that.
Okay.
I did 3 months of chemo, 4 rounds of chemo, and my doctor is relatively young, and he wanted to try a type of chemo that's just different than a lot of people. So
Okay.
I don't know anybody else who's tried this type of chemo. Literally no one.
Was this intravenous? Was it pills?
It was both.
Yeah. I think you've done some content where you're like, these pills fucking suck, but I gotta do them.
But they're fine. Like compared to the IV, they're a walk in the park.
Sure.
But they're still not a walk in the park. It's like here's a pill of poison. Also, don't barf it. Also, you have to eat 2,000 calories, but you will want to barf it. And you're like, dude, what the? That's terrible.
You have to eat 2,000 calories so that the pill doesn't like fuck you up.
Literally, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy. Yeah, and it's it kicked me on my ass. My mom was like physically sitting me up and spoon feeding me. And that's literally how I got through chemo, was her sitting me up, spoon feeding me warm liquids. And then like a week later, I'd be like, okay, I'm feeling a little better. And then chemo would come again. And then,
right.
The chemo cycle. And I luckily made it out, and I have been no evidence of disease since July 2021, which is, thank you.
That's great.
And again, like I said, it is a testament to having a couple, like a few lymph nodes. Like let me tell you, like I have friends, like.
Why were you low though? Like, why did you have so few?
Because we caught it. So we caught it fast enough.
Okay.
Like if I were to have, so I had, stage 3A, which colon cancer is like 3B, 3C, and then it goes into stage 4. Colon cancer is very different than other cancers.
Okay.
It's slow growing. So it's like the slowest growing cancer in a way, where I've seen people like go through chemo, like so many rounds of chemo. And they're like, oh, I still have active cancer in me, but it's so slow growing. It's not in a place where
you're living with it for now.
Yes. And that's very common with this cancer. Like, so when I say it's the difference, like I have friends that are now long gone that had, like, I think my one friend had stage 3B, and I think she had about 14 lymph nodes, and she is no longer with us. And she was diagnosed right before me. So like the gravity of my situation does not, like it does not, like I am 100% aware of how darn freaking lucky I am, like statistically and vocally, and they caught it so early because, and again, I just can't say enough. Like I would not have gone in if these women low-key didn't bully me.
Sometimes you need a little cyberbullying to get your ass to the doctor. All right. Hey, if there's one thing that we can say on the show, it's please cyberbully your loved ones.
Yeah.
That's what we do
at
here.
least about colonoscopies. Like.
Okay. I'm very, very eager to talk about how you went from this into online advocacy. This has now become your life's work. But first, we must do our court-mandated trivia segment where I try to stump every single guest with a multiple choice trivia question. Today's episode is about doctors not knowing what the fuck they are talking about, and today's trivia is about one of my favorite topics, which is batshit medical practices from history.
I love this.
I every time I have a guest on, I try to like customize the trivia, and I'm like, is she gonna know it? Is she gonna know all this stuff, or am I gonna stump her? I'm gonna give you 4 examples of super messed up medical treatments that doctors used to do for patients back in the day. Did I? Okay, one of these is 3 of these are real. Okay, there's 4 choices. 3 are real, and 1 of them I made up.
Okay.
You're trying to look for the fake medical practice.
Oh, this is going to be hard.
Here are the stakes.
Okay.
If you get this answer correct, I will personally pay for all your medical co-pays throughout 2025.
Oh my gosh, stop.
Okay? However, if you get this wrong, you have to go to all of my medical appointments in 2025 while I stay home and play video games. So you just advocate for me, and I'm just going to hang back.
While you play video games. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to chill. Okay. Do you accept the terms?
I accept the terms.
Okay. Most of these are from the Library of Congress, which there was an article that explains some of these. There are actual historical records in the U.S. Library of Congress that are like, yeah, people used to do this shit. So here's choice A. Milk transfusions. In the late 19th century, milk was believed to be the perfect substitute for blood, and the fatty, oily qualities would become white blood cells. While a few instances of this procedure were successful, I don't know what that means, many resulted in death. That is choice A. Or is it choice B, a whale hotel? There's an article from 1899 which reports on a hotel in Australia where you could go to cure your rheumatoid arthritis. In this treatment, whenever a nearby whale died, like on a beach, patients would be rowed out to the whale, and then the whale would be cut up, and a narrow hole would be made in the body, and you would lay down in the whale carcass for 2 hours in order to cure your arthritis.
No, that can't be real.
That is choice B. Is it choice C, smoke enemas? Tobacco smoke was considered a successful treatment for cholera and was recommended as an alternative to opium. This was done in a variety of ways, but in some instances, a pint of boiling tobacco-infused water was administered right up into that region where you had some of your medical issues.
Oh, no.
That is choice C. Smoke enemas, boiling tobacco enemas. Or the 4th choice, is it D, bone boiling? In the early 19th century, some believe that chronic ailments like joint pain, arthritis, and migraines were caused by your bones being too hard. So they would cure bone rigidity by placing patients, their limbs and sometimes in their entire bodies, into hot steam chambers to soften their bones.
No, that can't be true.
So you are looking for the one that did not happen that I made up. Just to recap, milk transfusions, laying down in a whale carcass, smoke enemas up the butt, or boiling your bones in a steam chamber. What are you thinking?
Okay, honestly, the first one is wacky with the milk and the blood. But, like, I kind of get where they're getting with, I guess, back in the 1800s, like, you know, I got...
Milk's white, and white blood cells are white.
Maybe they thought it was, like, the blood of the cow. I don't know. You know, so, okay, I'll give them that. The whale one sounds like some freaky shit Beverly Hills bitches do. I'm gonna have to go with the whale one though. That one sounds too absurd.
Too crazy. Okay.
That sounds too crazy.
Amanda goes with the whale hotel. We will find out which of these is not a real thing right after this important break. It's time to thank all the wonderful, generous people who make this show possible over at patreon.com/influencepod. And I especially want to thank those executive producers at the $10 or more tier who contribute every month. Their names are William, Bowie Barks, Duran, and of course, Dominic Kerr. Thank you so much to everyone who subscribes. Even at the free tier, you can get the show as a newsletter and get updates about guests and future episodes and goings on over here. And it's time to figure out if Amanda got the trivia question correct. So let's get back to it. We are back with Amanda Lee, patient advocate and colon cancer survivor. TikTok saved her life, and the women of TikTok saved her life, and many friends and family members, of course, part of that equation. We're going to talk about this advocacy just in a moment, but first we have to figure out if Amanda got the trivia question correct. Which of these psychotic medical practices are real, and which is the one that I made up? Was it milk transfusions, putting white milk into your body to get more white blood cells? That was choice A. The whale hotel, where you could cure arthritis by laying down in a beached whale carcass. C, blowing smoke, literally blowing smoke up your ass, and boiling tobacco up your tush there. That's choice C. Or is it boiling your bones in super hot steam to make your bones softer? Now, I always give guests a chance to reconsider if you've had second thoughts during the break. Are you going to stick with your choice, whale hotel, or are you're going to alternate here?
What was the last one again?
The last one is bone boiling. So this idea that, hey, if your bones get too hard, you got to soften them up with some steam and some boiling water.
Okay, that sounds like kind of like logical in the 1700s. So I'm just going to stick with the whale carcass.
All right, Amanda sticks with the whale hotel. The correct answer, which of course is the fake one, is, I'm sorry to say, bone boiling.
No!
That is one that ChatGPT and I made up together
that was a
to
good
try
one.
to stump you. Thank you very much. So
the whale's real?
The whale is real. Apparently, from 1899, there is an article in the Library of Congress related to a report from Australia that says that, yes, you would row out to whale carcasses and lay down for a little bit to get your life back on track.
No, I think I'm good.
Did you try that when you were sick? Did you try to do the whale thing?
Maybe next time.
You should do that next time, yeah.
I feel like I'm sure I could find some Beverly Hills person, a shaman who does it.
A shaman. All right, so I am sorry to say that for all my future doctor's appointments, I'll share my calendar with you, and you'll have to you'll need to attend.
Okay, sounds good.
So
add it to my list.
The TikToks are going crazy. You are in remission, and then this is a really good prognosis for you. So, at what point do you start to say, what are you doing for a living? First of all, and what do you like? How do you shift over to this new life of yours, this advocacy life?
Well, that was like a big issue with after cancer, and then obviously after the pandemic plus cancer. Finding out that, you don't have a job, like you have to rebuild your career, and then you also can't do that career that you used to be able to do anymore. Right. So I've had to really get creative. And I went viral again on TikTok for selling things.
Okay.
So I try to be very clear with my followers and my friends that I sell. That's like my side hustle in order to support my advocacy. And so that is my full-time job, which I'm very lucky to say that's my full-time job right now.
And selling what? What are we talking about?
I sell plus-size clothing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, right. I knew you were doing some modeling, but I didn't. And so are these things that you've designed? Are you collaborating with other designers?
So basically, I was just fed up with not being able to find clothes. So I went on TikTok and got a bunch of stuff that I think would fit. And I try it on me and my friends of various plus sizes. Mm-hmm. And I basically sell enough to bully brands into expanding their sizes.
And when you say, this is very fascinating. You're buying stuff, you're basically testing it out so that you can sort of review it or convey it to your audience. But then when you say that you're selling it, are you reselling the stuff that you have purchased, or you're working with brands to develop
I
new
work with
lines.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically it's kind of like the TikTok shop is like Amazon. So
Right.
anybody could have like a shop through it. I don't have a shop, I just sell. So I'm
Okay.
just like an affiliate.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Affiliate. I see what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I just like attach their item and then I get a percentage.
Great.
And that percentage is the same percentage that they provide to stores. So like for instance, if Tarte
Mm-hmm.
and Sephora, Tarte pays me the same amount that they pay Sephora.
Yeah.
So I'm very open with that with my followers. Like, hey, listen, you buy this mascara, I try to donate $2 of it to this cause,
Mm.
like, thank you for buying with me instead of Sephora.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately what I try to do. I think the TikTok shop, unfortunately, is like kind of has a bad rap and like
Yeah. It seems sketchy.
and it is, and that's where I'm hitting a wall where, it's unfortunate, but it has helped me have a job, like I said a year ago, even after cancer, I was like, I can't find a job.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't find a job that would pay me enough with insurance, just pay me enough a living wage with insurance.
Right.
And then I was like, I'm really struggling. So I'm really lucky for the TikTok shop. But on the other hand, I do try to make it very clear to my followers, like, this is not my main,
Mm-hmm.
my main objective is to use my voice, period.
Yeah. Yeah. But that authenticity, that honesty, and that transparency is like, it's all part of the influence and advocacy equation. And affiliate marketing is like, I've worked for media companies where like we paid the bills by doing Amazon links and other things, by creating that sort of content. So it is I'm thrilled to hear that's not just like, oh, I make a few bucks on the side. It's
No,
like,
I'm
no,
very
that's like
lucky.
your bread and butter. Um,
It's
Backing
not
up
normal. Like, that's not normal, but
yes, I'm glad you say that. Like,
yeah.
for someone listening who's like, oh, if I just,
Yeah. It's
slap
like
an
the
affiliate
lottery.
link on, yeah. Did you have unemployment or
No.
insurance or disability? So you had like zero income during your illness.
Yeah. Zero, like negative income.
Negative.
And I couldn't get a disability. I did get unemployment because of the pandemic.
Okay.
But once I hit cancer, that was gone. So we did have a GoFundMe, and that GoFundMe that I had fundraised pretty much lasted me an entire year. Like, that
Wow.
money let me survive for the entire year. I was on Medi-Cal, which is like the state provided insurance,
Okay.
which is the reason why I was pretty much like destitute with Medi-Cal. Like, I paid like $6,000, X amount of money out of pocket. So I don't know what people would have done like without that.
They go bankrupt, and that's what they do. It's
Like, I was gonna go, like, still going like, like the fact is, like, I was, still debating on filing bankruptcy after
yeah.
cancer, and you know, yeah, I still have massive amounts of debt,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still like, I mean, compared to where I was a year ago or 2 years ago, I think people really are scared to rebuild their life. And including myself, I was really scared to rebuild my life.
Yeah.
But it's such a joy to be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who knew I was going to be a model for plus size clothing?
Yeah, isn't that amazing? It's like this just horrible, horrible thing, and then you look back and you're like, well, here I am, and here's
Yeah.
where we are. I'm super ignorant about it, but like, because you were a freelancer / small business person before all this, you did not have like like disability or unemployment insurance or something. How does that even
Yeah.
work?
I don't know what happened, but I couldn't file for disability. And there was nothing to pull from because I was an independent contractor.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, if you were like a
Yeah.
W-2 employee, you would have been slowly paying in.
Yeah.
But again, like, isn't that what Medicare or Social Security or what? Isn't there some sort of? I mean,
You beat me. I literally, that's the thing, is I was 27. Like,
yeah,
like, I have no clue. No, there's nothing. There's literally nothing. They're like,
that
you'll get
there's
this when
no
you're 50 or 60, so you'll be fine.
that our system is structured of like, hey, you've been paying into this for 50 years, so now you get it back when you're old. But like, if you get cancer in your 20s,
Yeah.
it's like, well, there's nothing in the well, so
Yeah.
fuck you. So if you don't mind me asking, did you live with your mom? Did you have to you had to just pack up your life and?
Yeah, my mom physically, financially supported me for year and a half, and vice versa. Like her and I were really trying to support each other because she ended up, losing her job because of my illness inadvertently.
I know.
And then
exactly.
she had to change careers. And so
Jesus
her and I are in this together. And it's, I think people that's the part that people don't really acknowledge is yes, the debt of being in, chemo for 3 months, but it's the rebuilding your life after, or it's the, it's cancer is like a whole chunk of your life. It's not just the portion that you're going through, active treatment.
Yep. I want to know about your cancer therapist in a bit, but so tell us more. When did you make this decision in your rebuilding process, as you described? Where does the advocacy, the social media stuff start to factor in?
So I basically, since all of these women were reaching out to me, basically saying I will be there for you, I'm here for you, I kind of was you know what? I understand the patient advocate position in the hospital I understand it, but it is not feasible for what we actually need. What we actually need is somebody to advocate for us in the actual appointments with our specialists, somebody to take notes for us. And genuinely, they don't have to know anything. They they literally don't have to they could have minimal knowledge. Even if they ask why don't they do a colonoscopy, or why aren't you doing this test? Are
asking
there more
questions,
tests? Yes.
Being a journalist to be oh, excuse me, why? What's going on here? Yeah.
Could there be more tests to do? It's things like that. It's well, it's obviously my patient's in pain. How can we get them out? This is not sufficient enough. And I think that that's all we really need is that I was just going to appointment after appointment, going through whirlwind of emotions, and nobody was taking notes for me. Nobody was standing up for me, and I realized that is what we need. So I basically hand out my number, and I'm basically your mom that goes to your appointments with you when you need somebody to do that. And my knowledge is very minuscule. I have a couple of specialist doctors that I do ask opinions with.
But you have this life experience where it's not necessarily about facts and figures. It's about, hang on there, sir.
And that's all it is. It's hey, especially if we leave and my patient is still not satisfied, then that's you know what I mean? That's it. I come from customer service, it's not that hard.
Right. I mean, you had a business where you had clients who you needed to make sure that they were taken care of. And I just want to point out too of you may have a mom or dad, or you may have a spouse, or you may have a friend who is sort of supporting you emotionally, but they may not be good at this advocacy stuff. So you got to call in a pro, and you are now the pro.
Yeah, that is me now. And a couple of people have taken me up on it. And, obviously I get some cases that I'm this is out of my head.
Right.
I'm just here to give you the notes, but what I do have is a lot of resources that I'm also very lucky to share with them. I don't know this answer, but I got a girl who has a similar situation and I can put her in the ring.
This is what it's all about.
Yeah. And I think that's, it's your health is important, and your doctor should see it as a group effort.
A group effort. Yeah. That's very well said. Yeah. Again, just the doctor said X, so that is it. It's I don't understand why we're of that mind.
I don't either.
It's like clicking on the first Google result and being yep, I guess that's what it is. It's that's not how anyone should use the internet by comparison.
Anything, yeah.
So you are connecting with people, and then you are zooming in or calling into their IRL doctor's appointments. So that's you're I hope you don't mind me asking, is that a financial transaction?
No.
That's just, you're
It's
just
completely
doing
free.
the work. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's completely free. And that's where I come in and I say, hey, TikTok, this week, I was able to advocate for this woman dying of lung cancer, and your purchases were able to do that.
It's beautiful.
You
I love
buying
that.
normal things,
Yeah,
the things you were already going to buy,
totally.
is paying for me to do that. And I am that is literally it, and when I say, like, I've sold over $1 million on TikTok Shop, it's a flex, but it's also like, I want people to hear that and think,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is an opportunity for nonprofits. This is an opportunity.
Yes.
There's a space for this, because if I was fundraising $1 million for colon cancer, this would be different, but there's no way for me to do that on this platform.
Right. I just want to put a bow on that of, like, you have developed an incredibly innovative form of affiliate marketing.
Thank you.
And it's truly astounding, and it's blowing my mind, because I've worked in this space a little bit, and so I'm curious, like, how did you think of this? Because, like, did you observe other people doing it?
No.
How did you connect these dots?
It really drove me insane to think that I was begging people to buy from me, and I was so poor, and these people saved my life. Like, that is it. Like, how could I ask these people to buy from me when they literally just saved my life?
Right.
Okay, well, then I give back to them.
Mm-hmm.
That is it. It was genuinely like, it gave me the ick to do it. So I needed to find a way that was going to be successful for them as well.
Yeah.
And
you're absolutely right that nonprofits and charities and NGOs should be doing this, like,
100%.
right now.
And I think about it, like, I have this whole format of, if you had a nonprofit specifically for influencers to donate a portion of their stuff to, they could write it off. This would be a great marketing tactic, but no one's doing it. And I don't have the means to start a nonprofit. I'm just some girl trying to survive.
But you need to find someone who does, to create a platform. You need to create a Patreon for affiliate nonprofit good cause. You call it, like, goodcause.org or whatever the fuck. And it is a thing that creators can just plug into, like Patreon, and be like, oh, I don't have to build it. I can just plug in, and then I can sell, and that's going to be my good work. You are really onto something. And I know you know that, but, like, you're, like, really, really onto something.
And I've told other nonprofits, I've been very open. I've gone to multiple nonprofits saying, this is my plan. Like, take it and run with it. And, I'm like,
it's bureaucracy, and it's who can sign off on this. It's not, I don't know. I don't know much about that world, but the traditional medical NGOs are probably not able to access that. I was reminded of another question I thought of, which was, who funded the GoFundMe? Was it your followers, or was it family? How did that all shake out?
Yeah, it was followers. It was
Amazing.
Mostly strangers. When I say, like, $20,000 was donated by mostly strangers, and I lived off of that for 1 year. That was, I literally made it work. Like, they supported me for an entire year. So, when I like, this is obviously like I really appreciate you. I think you're the only person who has ever heard my idea of this and has ever thought that it had any water. So it's
huge. It's not just like,
it.
Oh, that's cool. It's, like, legit game changing. If you could operationalize it, sorry, listeners, talking shop here, for people who are not just you.
Yeah.
It's game changing.
I mean,
truly.
That's the plan. That has been always my plan, is to find a way for other people to donate a portion of what they are making, and then have them in exchange be like, this is the fund that I'm donating to. These are the videos. Like, I do, like, a blue mark on my videos, or a green mark, and every mark is corresponded to a cause. Yep. So whatever video is raising money on that cause is where the money goes. So it's like that, but I do want it, like, exactly on a large scale with other creators. And could you imagine what we could fundraise, especially with TikTok being such a fundraise? Like, it's very much a crowdfunding atmosphere, I've already raised $30,000 for a Palestinian family, and all I had to do was post a picture in a sweater. It's like, it's very impressive what TikTok can do.
You've heard it here. Just get a sweater, ladies and gentlemen, and you too can raise $30,000. I'm joking, but that's extraordinary.
But that's kind of how I feel, like if more people were to try. But I will sit and think about this. And if you seriously have any ideas, I will take them.
Oh, we're going to talk. We're going to talk.
Please.
This is such a stupid, middle class white guy thing to say, but like the fucking PTA at my kid's school, who are always like, "Can we get $5? Can you fund this? Can you just set up an Amazon affiliate code and tell everyone in the school to buy your toilet paper with this link, and we would fund all the music and arts programs for the next 7 years."
And see, that's the type of marketing that I want to use. Like, use it for good, Use it for good. Use it for good. Like, if you know it's evil, then stop filling into it, and then just,
yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
and I love that you're saying, like, okay, because again, we're talking about, we covered like how destructive social media and algorithms, how empowering and amazing the modern web is, and also how insidious it can be from these are for-profit companies that are serving content. And it's like, I've talked to you and multiple people who are like, if we can just turn that weapon into like a good thing by doing X, imagine what we could do instead of like grifting and misinforming and whatever. So this is it's an inspiring conversation, and I know listeners are feeling similarly right now.
I mean, I'm glad that they're listening. I think that at the end of the day, that's all we can ask for, is for them to listen and, keep listening.
Yeah. And if your work is relevant to someone's life, follow Amanda and share, you have highlights of like your entire journey. You don't have to scroll the feed. You can just go to the highlights and be like, all right, here's where the diagnosis happened and here's where the TikTok happened. So share this conversation, but more importantly, share Amanda's story. You've answered so much of my questions. I guess sort of like looking forward into the future, we've heard like what you are working on and what you hope to achieve, but like the current election notwithstanding, which probably hinders a lot of what we're about to talk about, but like, what can we do? What are we on the verge of? What are some simple things we can change, maybe in our personal lives, to sort of get better access to healthcare?
I think that the best thing you could do is bring a friend. And that's it, like, period, full stop, like whether it's to an appointment, to make an appointment, I've even gone to blood work that turned out to be severely traumatic. And I was like, I should have brought a friend, when it comes down to it, it's like, just bring a friend, like bring somebody that makes you feel comfortable in every space that you need to. And for me, I think I'm really excited to, I finally moved out and I'm trying to turn my room into like a studio so I could share other people's stories via YouTube. I think that the more stories we share and the more, we talk about situations, and the more platforms you give us to talk about situations, the more that change could really happen. And I think that that's all we could really ask for, is for people to, one, listen, and to keep coming back to listen.
Yeah. I love that. To close it out, because I do need to let you go, what is your personal life like now? I think you have a partner, and there's some pregnancy journeys that you're on that you've been public about. I'm not blowing up your spot. So maybe tell us about where you are today.
Yeah. Well, I surprisingly am not trying to get pregnant, but nobody thought I could have freaking kids. So the fact that I keep fucking getting pregnant is a little irritating. Literally, it was like everyone told me I could have kids, but it's fine.
Okay.
So here we are. I've had one miscarriage and one ectopic pregnancy. And apparently I woke up this week an advocate for women's health rights, and that wasn't on my agenda.
But not on the bingo card, but here we are.
But here we are. Knew nothing about it a month ago, but here I am, very educated. like last night, read all of the states' abortion bans. But we do what we do. And, like I have a lot of friends in the circle. And, like I said, I didn't expect, like, this isn't something I like want to talk about, like it is very hard for me to talk about. But, I mean, regarding the situation, I think it's just very important that we talk about these issues, whether people think that they are TMI or not TMI. I think that they are going to save people's lives.
Yep. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for all of the work you've done.
Thank you.
This has been a truly inspiring conversation. You are a truly inspiring person who has and is and will continue to save people's lives, and it is an honor to have met you, and just thank you for being part of the show. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I am truly blown away. I'm inspired. I'm deeply touched by Amanda's story. I knew the story going into the conversation, but I did not truly, fully, completely know the story and understand the story. And her work is amazing. And as I said, like, she's using the platforms and her life experience and her just unbelievable bravery and fortitude to save other people's lives and other women's lives primarily, of course. I just hope that she continues to do it all, and that she has that she can reach as many people as she can. And to that end, if you or there's someone in your life who needs to hear this conversation or needs to subscribe to Amanda's work on the social medias, she has a website, Linktree. We're going to link to all that in the description. So please check that out if it's relevant to you. Thank you for listening. Even if this stuff does not touch your life, that's a wonderful thing as well, to never have to wrestle with these kinds of diagnoses and challenges. But even if that's true, really appreciate you listening to the show all the way through and to this very moment. I hope that you are taking care of yourself. I hope you're staying well mentally and physically. If you're anything like me, you are taking long extended breaks from the news and taking care of yourself and your families and loved ones. So by the time this goes out, I think Thanksgiving will be shortly upon us. So I do hope that you are spending time with your loved ones and enjoying some delicious treats of the cranberry and turkey variety. And as usual, please be kind all the time. And also please be kind. Rewind your podcasts after listening to them. And I will talk at you in 1 week's time.